the fellowship took me a lot of places, especially those communities that are affected mostly by the issues of accountability.
If you do something about accountability, then the rest assured that a lot of them will not say anything to you. A lot of them will not want to speak to you. I have seen people that it has directly impacted them. They did the same thing the people did to them. They knew about it, but they will not tell you because of the fear that was instilled in them. Actually, for me, accountability means being responsible to your community, your environment, in the sense of either working towards making people responsible or either being responsible with your task if you are entitled to deliver to the community. HumAngle Fellowship has given me the opportunity to build my capacity in understanding that I have a responsibility for my community, at least to tell the stories of people who are affected by the actions of others, the unaccountable actions of others. That's what accountability means to me. So my encounter with accountability story, I would always reflect back to my Kashe Moroba story. It's something that I'm so much connected to. It's something that I personally want to talk about. And when I started the story, it was I was very particular with it, and I knew where I was going to. I knew I was going to probe a lot of conversation. I knew I was going to touch a lot of people. I knew I was going to ask a lot of questions that people wouldn't want it to be asked. And that's what accountability is. Some people have done something and they want it to be able to go under the carpet, and you have to throw a question to them to respond to that question. So with that story, I believe I was able to do something in the area of accountability for my community, for my people, and especially the displaced or conflict affected people that needed those support that have been diverted by aid workers. So it's something I so much appreciate. I appreciate the opportunity, I appreciate the learnings from the fellowship program.
And one important thing about this fellowship is it exposes me to people who really wanted to talk, but because they did not have the opportunity to meet newsmen, and this fellowship equipped me to be a news reporter. And I spoke at length with these community members, and they shared a lot of stories. They were excited that HumAngle Accountability Fellowship brought people like me to their community.
Let me say, like, this story in Garandam, where I've spoken for more, that it has to do with what the local populations are trying to pass on to the government. It's not my idea to do that story, it's the local populations. When I was talking with them, one of them told me that they have this drainage construction area which they have been complaining to the government for several times. They have called some radio houses, but up to now they were not invited. So when I went and did that story, it's not that I wanted to maybe inform the local population that these people, they are getting money on behalf of you and they are not doing what is good for you. No, I did it so that at least if the contractor maybe may ignore what the local population are telling him, the government that is responsible for awarding that contract will know that, yeah, let me talk to these people. These are my populations. They have allocated funds for such project to them, and we need the contractor to also provide at least a work that the population will appreciate.
By substituting something else and there was no substitute for that. There was no
I learned a lot, especially from the stories Usman Zanna shared with me. His stories are so inspiring and motivating, so I wish I can do much better than him. Basically, based on the stories I documented in the field, the stories are heartbreaking and heart-touching. I will share an experience I had with one of the victims, where she said her daughter was raped by their neighbor, and despite all the process she followed, to follow the rights. Also, they went through this humanitarian organization for their rights. At the end, they were just left at home with no solution. The perpetrator was not held accountable for what he did. She was just left at home. She left school because of what he did to her, and she's just at home staying. So it's heartbreaking and heart-touching.
The fact that stakeholders don't want to answer questions, don't want to give out information. I told myself that there's issues of accountability in those areas. So that was the first thing that is in my mind, and I want to work towards getting those answers that they are concealing. There is a lot of challenges, especially when you are asking people questions of accountability. There must be challenges, and the issues of education in my state is in plain sight. You can see schools, huge buildings just locked down. They are not in use. Billions of naira spent on those buildings, and they are not in use, and nobody is asking those questions. The few that are asking questions, one or the other, they manage to keep quiet. I don't know why, but I don't want to keep quiet. I want to ask questions. While I'm asking questions so that they will be accountable for those buildings, what made me strong is my community is with me.
What I feel about accountability with HumAngle Fellowship, it's actually expose a lot of wrong narrative. It actually gives me that knowledge, that capacity to seek accountability in the system. I come from a very grassroots community where some of these accountabilities are seen as norms and normals. People don't see it as wrongdoings. But the recent onboarding of the fellowship has exposed me to a lot of capacities that I now going to use in the course of my fellowship and seeking accountability in the humanitarian and the security sector. Because one thing I realize is that no systems goes well without seeking accountability. Accountability is a benchmark of measuring, it's an indicator to measure how well a community grows. Okay, what I need to come up from this fellowship is to build that mindset of seeking accountability in my community, to inspire my community to seek accountability in every sector of social change.